All right, exciting day for Pirate football, and excited about this announcement, and looking forward to you guys getting to meet and to know John David Baker. As we started this process, and really, looking nationally for the right fit for our next offensive coordinator here. From the start, John David really stood out. And I think as I went through everything and got to know him better, and the biggest thing is I talked to people that had worked with him at multiple stops, it became very, very clear that he was the clear-cut choice to come here and lead our offense. And so just excited about this moment and excited about him and what he's going to bring to Pirate football. I think our fan base is going to be energized by him. Our players are going to be energized by him and his style of play, and just really look forward to seeing the new look offense on the field this fall. So without any further time, John David Baker.
Thank you, Coach. First off, just want to say how appreciative I am to Coach Houston and John Gilbert for believing in me and giving me the chance to come here. I truly believe this is a special university and a special program, that the sky is really the limit, or else I wouldn't be here. So want to thank those guys, and then want to thank my wife, and just the support that she gives me. She allows me to do what I do, and without her, none of this would be possible. So I'll open it up to you guys.
Again, make sure you say your name and where you're from.
Stephen Igo, Voice of Colors, 24/7 Sports. John David, what about this position caught your interest? I mean, you were obviously in a great spot at Ole Miss, so what was it about ECU and the coordinator spot here that caught your interest?
There's a couple things for me. Just obviously the next step for me in my career was to go run my own show and call plays, so that was the first thing. But when you look at this conference, it's a great conference with a lot of good schools and programs, and so the chance to go do that at what I consider a high level in a great conference was something that I felt very strongly about. And then once I got into it and started talking to Coach Houston more and more, and got a feel for the kind of person he was, it was really a no-brainer for me.
Brian Bailey, WNCT TV. In a nutshell, your offense, what's it going to look like in the fall?
It's going to be one that you feel like is always on the attack. We're going to be extremely aggressive. We're going to take our shots, and we're going to play at a pretty good tempo. That's something that I firmly believe in. Obviously, something that we've done the last 3 years at Ole Miss, and had a ton of success. It's going to be simple for our kids. They're going to be able to go play, and anytime they step on the grass, step in between the white lines, they're going to know exactly what they're doing. They're going to know how to do it really fast. So, in a nutshell, I would say that's what it is. It's going to be an aggressive style, one that I think the fans will find really exciting.
As a follow-up, does the run set up the pass, or the pass set up the run?
Yeah, for us, everything starts in the run game. I think sometimes, just with my background, there's probably a little bit of a misconception of getting tagged as an air raid guy, and don't get me wrong, we've got a lot of those principles in what we do. But for me, everything starts in the run game and builds off of that, whether it be RPOs or play action game. Everything starts up front, and when we get the run game rolling, that's when this thing gets really, really special.
Clip Rock Pirate Radio, what are the next couple weeks like for you, getting integrated here, and also coaching Ole Miss in a bowl game? What's that going to be like?
Yeah, so just to be really clear, I'm an East Carolina Pirate, and my whole focus is on the Pirates and going to make sure we go add the pieces that we need to go compete for a championship next year. That is my whole focus over the next few weeks up until signing day, and as the transfer portal stays open through December. So I'll be on the road, obviously going to see our commits, go see our kids as fast as possible, get in front of them so they know me and I know them. And then really the bowl game came down to just Coach Kiffin, one, he and I having a great relationship, but also every one of those kids in that tight end room at Ole Miss I recruited. And so I sat in their living rooms, with their parents in their homes, and brought them to Ole Miss. And when you sit down for a season, you ask those kids to commit for 12 months. Let's go do something special. And so Coach Kiffin's been gracious enough to give me the opportunity to go finish that out with them at the appropriate time. But my whole focus is here on this program and making sure we're going to get the pieces that we need to go compete right now.
Philip Pilkington, 94.3 The Game. When you're looking at a quarterback, whether it be through the portal or through high school, what accolades are you looking at in that young man?
The first thing, he's got to be a proven leader. He's got to be tough. Those are the first two things you got to look at, because I can't ask that guy to get in the huddle and those other 10 guys look at him and them not know that or feel that. So he's got to be that. From a attribute standpoint, we love a guy that's extremely accurate. Feel like that's something that you can't really coach. You can tweak some mechanic things on guys. You can fix their feet here and there, but for the most part, if a guy's accurate, he's accurate. And so that's something that we look for a lot. And then we love an athletic guy. Having the ability to mix in some quarterback run game when we need it. Get yourself out of trouble, because a lot of times, and we've found it with the guy that we've got at Ole Miss, Jackson does a great job of bailing us out when things don't go well. And so having that extra element is something that we want to try to find as well.
How much of that focus in recruiting will go, to finding a quarterback or maybe multiple quarterbacks, given the state of the roster right now?
That will be my main focus, because if we don't have a quarterback, nothing else really matters. He's in this offense, in any offense, if you don't have a quarterback, things get really, really hard. And so my job is to go find some guys that add to the pieces that we've got in the room. And the guy may be on campus already. We don't know that. That's for us to go figure out over the next 8 months. But I do know this: the more quality guys that we can add to the room and create real competition in there, somebody's going to come out on the other side and they're going to be the guy that we want. And so that's my whole focus. That's everybody on this coaching staff's focus, is going to just add guys to that room so we can get a real competition and figure out who the guy's going to be.
Zach Kaplan, WNCT-TV. Coach, I'm just wondering how long you've known Mike Houston before this opening, or if you guys have any prior history.
Yeah, I've known Coach Houston for all of about 2 weeks maybe. No, he and I had no previous relationship. Had a first phone call a week and a half ago maybe, but just like Coach Houston probably did a lot of research on me, I kind of did the same and just reached out to as many people as I possibly knew that had any kind of connection to him, because that was my whole deal. Was just like it was mentioned earlier, I was in a great situation at Ole Miss and loved it there, loved living in Oxford, and so for me to go anywhere or leave there, it had to be the right situation, and more importantly with the right people, because if you're not with the right people, this is not real fun. We spend way too many hours up here working and trying to do things right, that if you're with people you don't want to spend a lot of time with, it can get miserable real fast. And so once I got to know Coach, I started to realize very quickly he's the type of man built on the right things. I like to say, he's cut from the same cloth as I am. And so that was something I felt strongly about and felt comfortable in coming here.
Eric Gullickson, WITN. Can you tell us a little bit about how you kind of developed your offensive strategy? What influences have kind of helped you mold into where you are now?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I feel I've had a unique career path. I do not take a ton of credit for the things that I know or in the offense that I run, mostly because I feel fortunate. I'm who I am and where I am today because of the guys I've been around. I'm 33 years old. I've worked at 4 different schools now, and just the guys that I've worked with, starting even all the way back when I played in college. Like my head coach was Chris Thompson, who's the associate head coach at Florida State. My high school head coach was Sterling Gilbert, who was the offense coordinator at the University of Texas a few years ago. And then on to North Texas, working for Seth Luttrell, who obviously in the state of North Carolina did a great job at UNC. Graham Harrell, Clay Helton, Jeff Levy, Lane Kiffin. Those are guys that I've gotten to sit in rooms with for a lot of years and kind of develop what it will kind of look like in the fall. So it's, like I said earlier, got to spend a lot of time in the air raid with Graham and Seth. And that's kind of the basis of what we believe on offense, as far as just keeping it really simple for those guys and letting them go play fast. And we're just going to out-execute people, and we're going to do it at a high tempo. And then the run game piece, obviously coming from Ole Miss, that was always kind of my hope and plan, was to be able to kind of blend the air raid with the old school Baylor system, kind of the veer and shoot and then vertical passing game. And that's kind of what you see at Ole Miss to an extent, and probably will try and carry on here a little bit. But that's kind of where it derives from. And like I said, I've been fortunate because I feel like I've been around, some of the best in the country.
What did you know about East Carolina? What was your perception of ECU before taking the job?
A couple of things. So I knew a lot of people just from my ties to kind of that whole Mike Leach tree, as far as guys that have worked here before, Clay McGuire, Brandon Jones, those guys that were here with Lincoln and them. And those were guys that I called during the process of like, hey, what do you think of this place? What do you think of Greenville? All those things. And every one of them said the same thing. And they're like, dude, that place is awesome. Like it is a legit place that the sky's the limit. And so that, and then just seeing from afar, obviously, you have a ton of crossover tape, and just seeing this place, seeing the fan base, that was probably one of the things that attracted me the most. Like coming from an SEC school in a small college town, you get that same feel here. This is an SEC town now, and these people care about this program, and that's what fires me up, because now we're going to go put something on that green grass that these guys are going to really like to watch every Saturday.
John, when you look at the film from this past year, have you had a chance to dive into it at all, just the offense that was, and any thoughts on that, if so?
A little bit. As I kind of went through the process, watched a little bit. I can't say that I watched a ton of it, but not enough to probably give you a synopsis of anything I saw. No.
You mentioned studying under all those guys. How do you kind of prepare to be in charge of the offense for the first time? And also as a play caller, there's kind of an art to it. So do you try and simulate it at all to get ready for that? So
that's kind of been the beauty of my position the last few years. So like anytime, Coach Kiffin did a great job of preparing me for that kind of stuff. Anytime we got in a scrimmage type situation, whether it's spring game, fall scrimmage, we'd always split up. And so I've was calling one of the sides, so one of the offenses, and so I've done it for a while now, and feel extremely comfortable, because you don't ever get a position and then all of a sudden try and get prepared for it. I've been prepared for this for a long time, and had the ability to work under people that have helped me get prepared for it.
Anything else for Coach?
One other thing, with the last year they had a really good defense, and a lot of that should be back. So was that an attractive piece of it at all, knowing that side of the ball looks pretty good?
Yeah.
The offense does well.
Yeah, full transparency, it was. It's knowing that they had pieces coming back on defense, and what Coach Harrell and those guys were able to do last year. Knowing that coming here, all we really need to do is fix the offense. I felt very confident in being able to do that, and that's why when I talk to our kids later today, is making sure that gets conveyed to them. Like, this is not a 2-year plan. This is not a 3-year plan. We got 8 months to go get this thing right, because we can go do something really special next season. And so making sure our guys understand that and have a sense of urgency about doing that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate it.
Any Coach Houston up here?
Okay. Any follow-up questions?
Coach, what was the sort of thing that made Coach Baker stand out as the candidate?
I don't think it was necessarily one thing as much as just who he is as a complete person and coach. Some of the things that stood out from talking to the people that have been with him at multiple different stops, his work ethic, his character, his knowledge of what he's doing, all those stood out at every stop. I think he is viewed in the college football landscape as a rising star, a guy that, as he said, is prepared for this moment. And then it came down to, I think the style of play will fit us here for what I wanted to go to. And that's, I wanted to be much more aggressive, and I wanted something that was going to attract our fans and recruits. And so I think we got all of that with John David.
Coach, will the two of you evaluate the other offensive coaches, or will Coach Baker take care of that? And
So he and I will work together to ensure that he has an offensive staff that is prepared to implement his style of play to the fullest extent. So we're both in discussions on that.
Okay, you kind of talked about it, Coach, but just the importance of going to the portal and trying to find a quarterback or developing a guy here. Just how much of a focus is that for the staff right now?
Well, I think it's probably the number one priority for anybody that's tied to that position. So his priority, our recruiting staff, myself, it's making sure that our quarterback position room is prepared to lead our program.
You're obviously overseeing everything, but how hands-on are you going to be with the offense, and how much is it John David Baker's offense?
It's his offense to run. I'm not going to call plays. My job is to support him and support our offensive coaches and support our players, and I'm going to make sure he has everything he needs to be successful at a very high level.
What has been kind of the response that you've gotten since it kind of has come out that he's the guy?
I think everybody's excited. I think our players are excited. They're going to meet him officially here in a little bit, but I've got enough stuff over the weekend that they're energized by this. I think our fan base, if they're not excited already, they will be the first time they see us line up this spring. But I think that my feedback I've gotten from people in the industry is that we made a very solid choice.
I know John touched on it with John a little bit, but from your perspective, when did his name first enter your mind as a possible candidate, and how did you two kind of get in touch over the last couple of weeks?
His name came up as soon as I started looking. It was one of the first ones that I received. I consulted a lot of people in the industry, people I trust, people that know who the next guys are, and I told us I want to look at everything. I want to look at guys that had experience play calling, guys that had been a coordinator. I want to look at the next up and coming stars. I want to look at every bucket to see which one would fit us best. So he came up very early in the process, and like I said, the more we went on, the more it became clear he was the right choice for us.
Ole Miss certainly has some, a lot of run principles in their offense, but they do air it out, push the tempo a little bit. Just when you look at yourself as a head coach, you went from triple option to the RPO-based scheme of Donnie to now this. How would you kind of assess how much you've kind of had to evolve over time with the sport of football too?
Well, I think I've got to evolve in a lot of areas. Yeah. I mean, that's I don't know if you could get on a completely different spectrum than what I have in the last 13 years, but. The one thing I think you're always evolving. You're evolving as a coach. You're evolving as a program. You're always pushing yourself to get better and to improve. As John David referenced up here a while ago, this is a situation where I feel like this offense gives us the opportunity to be highly competitive this fall, and we all have very high expectations for what we can be. And I thought that was probably a key piece.
Do you feel like the guys you have in place at a lot of the skill positions are going to fit what he's trying to do?
I think there will be the vast majority will fit within his scheme, and I think there are some pieces that we need to make sure we acquire to make sure that he has everything he needs. But certainly we've discussed, we've discussed the guys we have on the current roster, and I'm excited to see how he uses those guys. Really excited.